Hi everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm going to be bringing you a book unhaul. I know you guys love book unhauls. I love watching them, I love doing them. There's something very kind of cleansing and therapeutic about going through your shelves and figuring out what you actually want to keep, and my shelves are kind of at maximum capacity now, so if I want to keep acquiring books, I need to continuously be going through my shelves and prioritizing what I really want to keep. I'm definitely not someone that will ever have kind of a minimalist book situation. I do really like having a library of books. I do enjoy having a collection of things. But gradually over the years, I find myself refining what are on my shelves. What I keep on my shelves are books that I've either really enjoyed, or if I didn't absolutely love them, I feel like they in some way define me as a reader. I have 30 books to talk to you guys about today, so I have quite a lot to get through. There are 4 books that I'm getting rid of from my TBR, so these are 4 books that I haven't read yet. The rest of them are all books that I've read. The Wish Dog and Other Stories is a collection of kind of spooky, Halloween, creepy stories from Welsh women writers, and as much as I think that's like a great idea, I don't feel any desire to read this, so I think someone will enjoy it much more than I will, and I'm more than happy for this to be back into the world and back in circulation. The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes is missing its dust jacket, and I stole it from a Wetherspoons. Again, just no desire to read it. A collection of poems by William Blake. This is kind of some of his collected works, and I got this in a set with the collected works of W.B. Yeats and Shakespeare's sonnets. Both of those I've read, and I really enjoy both of those writers as poets, but I've never really felt a huge desire to read this, so back into the world it goes. Miss Marley by Vanessa LaFay. This is a prequel or a retelling of A Christmas Carol, and I was really intrigued by this book when I first got it. This is actually a proof, I think. But last Christmas I was meant to read this and I just never felt myself drawn to it. I'll have to figure out what to do with this one because I can't sell it, or I can't give it to a charity shop to sell because it's a proof. If you want to know about why you can't sell proofs or what you can do with proofs that you don't want anymore, I've done a whole video on that which I will leave linked. But they're the 4 books that I haven't read that I'm getting rid of. The rest of these books I have read. I have these 4 Harry Potter related books. I'm not going to go through those in any great detail. There's 2 books that are kind of written about the phenomenon of Harry Potter, and 2 books that are about the films, and they take up a lot of space, and I'm trying to minimize my Harry Potter collection for obvious reasons. That's all I think I really need to say about those. There's 4 classics that I want to get rid of. So the first of those is Esther Waters by George Moore. I did really like this one. I read it for Victober a few years ago, and I did really enjoy it, but I just don't feel like I'm ever going to want to reread it, so happy for this to go back into the world. As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. I read this one at uni, but again, I don't really have any desire to reread this one. The same goes for The Secret Garden. I once had this idea that I would like to have a shelf of books that were the books that I studied at university. I didn't keep all of my books that I studied at uni because a lot of the time I was getting them out of the library or I was reading ebooks sometimes. But I think the further I get away from my university experience, the less I feel inclined to have a shelf that represented my degree. I just want to have the ones that I still really like. Heidi is in that same Puffin Classics edition. Again, I read this one and I liked it, but just don't have any desire to reread it. Oh, I've got another classic as well. So I have Lolita, which I did read and I found it a really interesting reading experience, but it's been quite a few years since I read it now, and again, don't feel inclined to reread it. There are a couple of non-fiction books I want to get rid of as well. The first of those is We Are Never Meeting in Real Life by Samantha Irby. I've read a couple of her essay collections now, including this one of course, and I just don't think her writing is for me. I think objectively her books are really fantastic, but I just don't feel like I'm the person for her writing style, so someone will enjoy this much more than I will. And I also have The Year of Living Danishly, which I read a couple of years ago and really liked reading at the time. It's all about this woman's experiences of moving to Denmark, and I found it really interesting to get a glimpse into that culture. But I don't think this is one that I will ever come back to, and someone will benefit from having this on their shelves far more than I will. Now onto the fiction books, and all of these I've read. These 2 were the most difficult ones to say goodbye to. So we have Jellyfish, which is a short story collection, and Paulina and Fran, which I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed both of these books, but they haven't really stayed with me, and I realised that the reason I was keeping hold of them was because I just love their covers so much. I feel like these are books that someone else would be delighted to find and would absolutely love. Like, I feel like for certain people these would be absolute easy 5-star reads. So who am I to keep that reader away from these books? Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. There's nothing wrong with this book. It's a good book, but it's not one that has stayed with me, so it can go. Sebastian Barry's Days Without End. I read this for the Irish Readathon in March and I really enjoyed it, but again, I think someone else will benefit from this one more than I will. What a Way to Go by Julia Forrester is one of the most underrated books I have ever read, I think. I've never heard anyone else talk about this book on BookTube and I think it is fantastic, but I do have another copy of it and I don't feel like I can justify having 2 copies of it despite how much I absolutely love this cover. Kismet is another one that I was really tempted to keep just because I love the look of this book. I love its cover design, but I didn't really like this book, so why am I keeping it on my shelf? Opposite of Always is a YA contemporary romance that I really enjoyed reading, but I think it's one that another reader will really appreciate having. It's a really heartfelt YA romance with black main characters. I think someone else would be really delighted to get their hands on this one. These next few books are all kind of the same situation. Like, they're books that I enjoyed reading at the time, but they're not books that have really massively stayed with me, and I don't think I would ever want to read them again. So I'm just going to rattle through them really quickly. So we have The Girl with All the Gifts, Cut on the Bias, which is a collection of short stories that are all about women's relationships with clothing. The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. I think if I ever wanted to revisit this, I would just watch the movie. This was one of my 5-star predictions, and it kind of just felt short of that, but I know other people would absolutely adore this book. The Shock of the Fall, The Rabbitback Literature Society, which was one that was very difficult to say goodbye to, again because of the cover. Memoirs of an Ex-Prom Queen, and Panty. So they are the 30 books that I'm getting rid of today, or, you know, they're going in a bag to eventually be donated somewhere. Leave me a comment down below and let me know how often you purge your bookshelves. Is it something that you do regularly, or do you find it a real struggle to get rid of books? I hope you guys are doing well, and I will talk to you in my next video.